Solving systems of equations using elimination, lesson 11 notes. Example number 2. Solve the system of linear equations using elimination. All right, so the first thing we want to look for are opposites. Do we have opposites here? No, we do not. Opposites would be like 6w and negative 6w, or 3w and negative 3w, and so forth. So we do not have opposites. Do we have identical terms? Again, no, we do not. And be careful. A lot of people want to think that 3w and 3z are identical terms, but they're not. To be identical, it has to be the same coefficient and the same variable. So then we can move on to multiples. Do we have multiples here? Well, this is where you would want to divide some numbers out to see if you have multiples. So let's see, is 3 a multiple of 2? Well, 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. So no, 3 is not a multiple of 2. Is 6 a multiple of 3? 6 divided by 3 is 2. So yes, 6 is a multiple of 3. So 3 and 6 are multiples, and we're going to multiply the smaller term to get the opposite of the larger term. Pause your video and get that written down. All right, so we decided that 3w and 6w are our multiples that we're going to use. And it says multiply the smaller term to get the opposite of the larger term. So the 3w is the smaller term. So this is the equation we're going to multiply. What do we multiply by? Well, this is how we decide that. We take the opposite of the larger term and divide it by the smaller term. Opposite of the larger term and divide it by the smaller term. So the larger term is positive 6w, so I need a negative 6. The smaller term is a 3. So what is negative 6 divided by 3? That would be negative 2. So again, I took the opposite of the larger and divided it by the smaller. So I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by negative 2. So the top equation will be the same, and then when I multiply the bottom equation, I would get negative 2 times 3 would be negative 6w. Negative 2 times 2z would be negative 4z. And negative 2 times 10 would be negative 20. So pause your video and get that written down if you haven't already. Okay, so again, we have 6w plus 3z equals 14 on top, and then negative 6w minus 4z equals negative 20 on the bottom. My opposites are the 6w and the negative 6w. So the w term gets eliminated. And now I combine the other two. 3 minus 4 would give me negative 1z. Keep the equal signs lined up. 14 minus 20 would be negative 6. Last step, isolate the variable by dividing both sides by negative 1. So z equals positive 6. Okay, so now we need to pick an equation, plug the z back in, and solve for w. So let's use the top one. Again, you could use any one of them. I just chose the top one at random. All right, so I solved for z. So where the z is, I'm going to put parentheses. So this is going to be 6w plus 3 parentheses equals 14. And the 6 is going to go in for the z. So now this will stay 6w, multiply, 3 times 6 is 18, bring down the 14. Now this becomes a two-step equation. If you want to, you can box your variable term here. And I need to take my constant term to the other side of the equation. Since it is a positive 18, the inverse would be negative 18. The 18s would cancel. Bring down the 6w. 14 minus 18 is negative 4. Last step, isolate the variable by dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6. When you put this into your calculator, it would give you a fraction, and that would be negative 2/3. Negative 4 over 6 would reduce to negative 2/3. So my final answer, going in alphabetical order, would be W is negative 2/3, Z is 6. Let's check to see if we are correct. So we're going to use the GeoGebra app. All right, so notice how I already put the equations in. Now this is again where you need to be careful. There's no x and y in the original equations. So alphabetical order, W is first, so I made that x. Z is second, I made that the y. So I put in those two equations, and let's go see where they intersect. They intersect at, I don't know if you can tell, that says negative point, and then it's a bunch of 6s and a 7. In other words, it's the repeating decimal of 6, 0.6 repeating. 0.6 repeating. And you should know by now that as the fraction 2/3 as a decimal is 0.6 repeating. So that's negative 2/3, 6, which is what we got for our answer. All right, so that is it for number 2. Make sure you have everything written down. If you have any questions, please let me know.